Welcome to Friday Forum, July 15th, 2022. Big week this week, as usual. Couple highlights on the support side. So replacements are at an all-time low of 3.7% versus a typical of 10%. So this is obviously a huge benefit for logistics volumes, support handling requests, and cost. Happiness is at 95, which is an 11-week 90-plus streak. And this is huge because with liftoff over the past 2 weeks, there's been some major changes in the volume as well as the nature of the support tasks that the team is having to deal with. So, liftoff was a huge wrench, and to continue to see an amazing happiness response, even though our SLAs might be slipping because people on the support team are just dealing with an overwhelming volume and genuinely struggling through new learnings that we haven't come across before. This is just a huge win. And I want to give a big shout out to the team for really doing an amazing job holding member happiness despite these changes. So thank you to all of you. On the content side, we're seeing a content leverage uplift. So this is the amount of self-help content that's being accessed prior to triggering support requests. So this is a big one. We're at 10.1 versus a target of 8. So again, just amazing work on the support team continuing to scale process so that they can keep up with our volumes as we grow. And of course, the support team will be growing as well as we have some new support members joining us in the next few days. On the expansion front, Levels Health UK Limited is officially incorporated. So this is big news. We officially have an international entity. We're currently evaluating lab partners for our UK metabolic panel, and the search for UK advisors and affiliates is underway. So just continuing to scale towards our UK liftoff. On the community side, so we've got the apple cider vinegar community experiment, which is recruiting right now, internally and externally. We also have just generally started off the community experiments program. Once again, we did the Coke challenge. We've done a couple of experiments internally. And so this is the next step towards a number of these that we have planned. So definitely looking forward to participating and seeing how this plays out. We also had the Getting Started Cohort B, which is 42 members interested in weight loss, all starting together. And so we're going to definitely learn from this as well, which is going to be quite fun. Sissy led that live onboarding a few days ago. On checkout, so we had a checkout optimization round. So after liftoff, we got our first real data on conversion rates and how the funnel is working for us. And after a round of optimizations on copy, just having learned how the flow is being experienced and where the drop-offs are, we released an update and just had a really tremendous improvement. And most of this was very low-hanging fruit, just copy updates and a few images changed. One major one that I don't want to pass over is the removal of the video that I recorded for this. So I attribute most of the uplift in conversions to just getting my face off the screen. But we went from 3.8% to 7.2% in the first 24 hours, which is 63% more purchases over that time frame. Just like crazy uplift. And really want to shout out the team for continuing to learn from this stuff. And this is just round one. So we'll continue to get better here. You can see a chart of the drop off by step that the potential member experiences as they go through. So the orange bars are the new rates. Dr. Casey's Kitchen live shoot is underway. You can see some of the behind the scenes photos here with Tony on site, Sonia on site, Casey on site, Stacy's out there. So they're just doing a really cool live recording and looking forward to the outcomes there. And I believe, we've got a ton of documentation on this. If you're interested in learning what we're experimenting with and what we're hoping to learn from the experience, definitely check that out. Casey's episode with the Model Health Show went live as well. And we also are trending towards Human Lab podcast ads, prepping for an 8/1 launch. And this, quite excited about this. I think we have plenty of Human Lab fans on the team and expect this might perform on par with David Sinclair's Lifespan podcast. Member survey released. So we've got updates that went out with the Now V2 core navigation. And so David released a survey to collect feedback on that new dashboard experience. It's not the entire experience that you see in this image, which is currently in alpha testing internally and will be released for internal team testing shortly, but it's a portion of it. So it's some core navigation changes. And so this has been experienced by plenty of people by now. We've got a survey out to 500 early users, and we're going to be learning a huge amount. We've got some primary themes already surfacing around what people are struggling with. One of them was a glucose synchronization issue, which actually we traced down to a UI bug as opposed to a change to the dashboard. And people were struggling to find the manual sync button. So themes like that are really good to know because we were already tracking them, we were already resolving them. So more to come on this, but doing a lot of learning on the background. Monthly burn decreased to 0.86 million, 860,000, and runway is currently at 51 months. Just a quick update there. And then on the research side, we're going to be launching a new voice of research program. So videos and recurring themes as we scale this, honestly, sort of a landmark distributed research program with our IRB. There's a ton of learning that's happening in terms of how we're handling support requests, how we're handling improvements and iterations to the protocol as we proceed. So this will be really helpful to understand what the research team is experiencing it live and ensuring alignment on lessons learned. A couple other things, we had a ton of great content generated this week. So we had an episode between Casey and Dr. Sarah Gottfried on women's health, which is really important. Dr. Gottfried published a meta review, which I highly recommend, on women's cardiometabolic health. We had Sam and Sandra Daniels from Thumbtack discuss scaling startups. We got Austin talking about are eggs good or bad. Serious Keto is doing a giveaway for levels. Flav City with Bobby Parrish, who's been kind of waiting in the wings for us to be generally available, did his in IG Live. And let's see, some other great whole new level, good content that we launched. One in particular, seaweed, the seaweed salad hero image, which I was quite excited for. And then this really great article, which I'm only partially through, that Haney released. It's an everyone on content piece about, essentially making the case for why Levels is investing in editorial content as opposed to, clickbait marketing, and making the case for why other companies should do the same. We got some love on Twitter from people who really appreciate the culture and the product. And I believe that is it. Okay, jumping right ahead, I want to welcome Cyrus. Cyrus and I have a lot in common. I'm from Virginia. I worked in aerospace for a while. We both love Levels, it seems like, and we've got some shared side project interests. So Cyrus, I really appreciate you being a member of Levels. I appreciate you setting aside your Friday morning to hang out with the team. Would love to hear some thoughts about your experience so far with Levels, what you're interested in and excited about in metabolic health. Take it away.
I will. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation to be here. I have to admit, I was super excited when I got the email last week from Jackie. I've been following you guys for a couple of years now, and I love your company. I love your vision. I love your mission. It was actually perfect timing. We had just arrived in San Diego. That's where that photo is that you see there. She said she needed a headshot, so I just took a selfie on Torrey Pines hike. Just arrived in San Diego. Just got back on Wednesday. Usually I would be at work, and it'd be hard for me to join you guys in a forum like this from the office. But I took yesterday and today off just to recover from the jet lag, so I'm able to be with you here today. Jackie asked me to talk about 3 things. She said 5 minutes. My background with a kind of emphasis on what's pertinent to being a Levels member, how I discovered and got into Levels, and also my experience as a Levels member. I did take a few notes, which I have here in front of me, to make sure I only take 5 minutes and I'm respectful of your time and your meeting. So a little bit of background, Josh mentioned we do have a fair bit in common. I have to admit, when I was putting together this, I remembered a podcast I heard a few years ago with Sam, when he mentioned, I don't know if he's online with us today, but he mentioned that in the early days, you guys called every single beta customer to kind of develop a user profile of your customer base. So I think you'll see some things perhaps in common. So quick background, just things that are relevant to being a Levels member. Child of immigrant parents. My family is originally from India. On my father's side of the family, several people do have diabetes. So that's kind of important data point number 1. I've always been mindful of diabetes and blood sugar and the potential long-term health impacts. That being said, I was born and raised here in Virginia. I grew up in Southwest Virginia in a small town called Roanoke. In the Blue Ridge Mountains, looking at the night sky, I dreamed of becoming an astronaut, which led me to aerospace engineering. Went to UVA for undergrad, did aerospace engineering. At the end of my time in Charlottesville, decided I wasn't yet ready to join the real world. So I went straight to graduate school, spent the next 5 years in Boston at MIT, where I majored in aero-astro, but with a minor in operations research science. So that's kind of important data point number 2. My PhD dissertation was very OR heavy. So I love data, I love metrics, I love trying to optimize things. So I think you'll see where this is going. So that's a little bit of my background. How did I discover and get into Levels? So it actually started with a podcast. I don't even remember which one I heard. Josh was on. This was the summer of 2020, so about 2 years ago on the dot. And Josh's story really resonated with me. Engineer by training, into health and fitness, and wanted to be able to use quantitative data to try and optimize his health. So after I heard that podcast, I kind of got hooked, and I started listening to every podcast I could find with Josh, Casey, or Sam. If you've ever done the Gallup Strengths Finder assessment, learner is in my top 5. So I love learning new things, probably why I went to graduate school. So I just started learning everything I could. And there's something Sam said in one of his podcasts that really struck me. He talked about how his habit of listening to a lot of audiobooks. And I forget the exact question, I'm paraphrasing, but the interviewer said, why audiobooks as opposed to listening to podcasts or reading magazine articles? And what Sam said is, when you listen to a podcast or read a magazine article, you're consuming something that someone spent several hours or maybe a few days pulling together and synthesizing. But when you read a book or listen to an audiobook, you're benefiting from someone who did years and years of research to synthesize that information. So that really struck me. So I got into audiobooks. I listened to a bunch of books on metabolic health and got on your wait list in the fall of 2020. And then December 2020, had my first experience with a continuous glucose monitor. And I just thought it was amazing. This was the first time in my life that I felt like I was seeing in real time what was happening inside my body as a result of the decisions I was making: nutrition, food, sleep, exercise. I think that's very, very powerful, very empowering. And that's something that all of you have made possible and made available to the masses. So thank you for that. Final thing, just impact on my life. And I'd like to also include a couple of gratitudes and why I'm so excited for your guys' future. I kind of divided the impacts into 2 categories: kind of first order impacts, which are health, but also second order impacts, mindset, which I think is an important part of your brand. I think you guys have really cultivated that well through your branding, the social media, the news articles, the podcast. And I think that extends beyond just physical health. So first order impacts, I have lowered my A1C. So again, very mindful of that family history. So that's something that's important to me. I phased out oatmeal. I know in a million podcasts you said everyone learns oatmeal is no good for you. I was hoping I'd be the exception, but I wasn't. So I phased out oatmeal. I eat a lot less rice. Rice is a staple of South Asian diets. So I've made a conscious effort to eat a lot less rice. I think that's helped. Those are some of kind of the first order biggest takeaways for me. In terms of the second order impacts in terms of mindset, I am now closer to age 50 than I am to age 40. So I think it's natural as we all get older, we kind of reevaluate our lives and think about, perhaps reinventing ourselves. So going through the levels experience, learning more about health, nutrition, fitness. Or at the beginning of this year, I decided to enroll a program at George Mason University, which is literally 2 miles down the street from us here in Fairfax, to become certified as an executive leadership coach. So I just completed that program. And the reason I chose George Mason is their focus is on well-being. So individual well-being and organizational well-being. So I just completed that certification. And my goal in becoming an executive leadership coach is so I can help others, maximize their performance, not only in business, but also in their health and well-being. So that's kind of that second order mindset impact you guys have had in me. So that's a quick summary of my levels journey. Again, I wanted to end with a few gratitudes. So first, Josh, just thank you for the original idea. Thank you for bringing that engineering mindset to health and fitness. And thank you for the courage to start something new. I don't think I would have that courage. So thank you for that. Sam, I don't think he's on, but thank you for all of the business savvy and that learner's mindset and audiobooks that really got me into it. And then I don't know if Casey's on, but I just wanted to say thank you for all of her nutrition advice. I do have an alternative to oatmeal now, thanks to her, and that's that chia seed, hemp seed, flax virtual oatmeal is one of my go-to breakfasts now. And finally, just to all of you at Levels, it's kind of weird. I expected a lot more people, but I guess that shows like how you guys really are a tight startup community. But thank you for all the work you're doing to make Levels a success. I believe in you guys. I believe in your vision. I believe in your mission. That's why I'm not only a Levels member, but when you did that Series A or whatever it was called earlier this year, I did make a contribution because I want you to succeed and I want to support your success and I want to help enable your success. So thank you. It's an honor to be with you here today, and I really appreciate the invitation. The nerdy engineer in me has a million questions for you guys, but I don't think that's appropriate for this forum. But if there's ever an opportunity to follow up with someone one-on-one offline, I would treasure the opportunity. Thank you.
Cyrus, that was fantastic. And I just want to thank you for, ideas are one thing, but having people who are willing to take a flyer and try something new that's, frankly, has a spectrum of jankiness embedded in it as we try and grow and learn and improve. And I just really appreciate you supporting us along the way in two ways, as a member and also as a member investor. It's just a huge vote of confidence. And, this is something that I can speak for the whole team. We get the most value out of testimonials like this and hearing directly from you how Levels has impacted your life. We'll study this and improve because of it. So thank you again. And we definitely need to get you on a conversation, a follow-up call, just to capture more of this. You've got a ton of really concise insights, and I really appreciate that. Lastly, we're gonna have to rename chia virtual oatmeal. I think that's gonna stick. So, Cyrus, one last thing, I would love to hear from your analytical perspective, if there was one thing that we could improve about the levels experience from your perspective, what would that be, just in closing?
Man, I didn't prepare for that one, Josh. So that's a hard one. Off the top of my head, so I'm thinking out loud now. Brainstorming, brainwriting. So I love how you can compare meals like historically. So I think that's a big one. You got workouts in there. You got sleep in there. Sleep with mine's a little wonky. I think it depends on what sleep app you use and how that connects to Apple Health. So sometimes it'll show multiple wake up times. The only thing off the top of my head is any more data analytics you could do in long-term trending. But again, I'd have to think more about that to make that concrete. But I think, as you've been around for a few years now, you've got a loyal customer base. Your goal is to bring it to the masses. So you're going to get more and more data. I think you're taking advantage of that with some of the research studies. I just got an email the other day about one of, I think it's the Dexcom 6 research study you're doing. But you're going to get more and more data. The time span of that data is going to increase. So in the long run, maybe there's some cool data analytics you can do showing long-term trends, not just weekly and monthly and daily trends. Just an idea.
Absolutely. Love that. And I think many on the data science team will be appreciative of hearing that as well as a focus. Well, Cyrus, I really appreciate the amount of effort and intentionality you put into preparing for this, above and beyond what we would expect. And I really, genuinely want to thank you for taking the time to hang out with us. Feel free to stick around for the rest of the meeting. We've got, some more themes and functions to cover, and then we do a little personal share at the end. So I know you're busy. Feel free to jump if not. Thanks again.
I'll definitely stick around. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Okay. Jumping ahead, I want to welcome new team member, Victor Engberg, lead visual designer, comes to us from Xero. Really very excited to have Victor on the team and to join us in unlocking, the next stages of our brand and of our product as we move forward. Victor, super stoked to have you here. Love to hear from you.
Thanks for the intro, Josh. It's great to be here. Sorry about my voice. I'm still kind of getting over COVID, which was a fun kind of intro surprise I got on Sunday before starting, but it's great to be here. So compared to Cyrus, this is going to be probably a pretty bleak intro, but I read about myself so much this week, so I'll try to keep this very short. It's been kind of a long time here since I've been in a Zoom call with so many faces that I don't know, but maybe besides any nerves showing here, it's really great to kind of finally see you all and celebrate my first week here. We're actually going out to celebrate my wife's birthday tonight, so I'll probably have to sneak in kind of a side drink to celebrate my own first onboarding week. About onboarding, I've been thinking a lot about onboarding this week, probably dreaming about it at this point, both internally and how it kind of relates more to product. And I think there's a lot of similarities between how this onboarding is run and actually designing good software. And it's just a lot about setting up the system to be set up for success, right? So I'm just happy to be a student here and observe and absorb as much as I can at this point. So I have a feeling it's going to pay dividends very quickly. So I'm very happy I joined it this week.
Amazing. Well, happy birthday to your wife, and thanks for picking levels and joining the team to help us kind of move into our next phase. So everyone else on the team, definitely make yourselves available to Victor as he's moving through onboarding and just getting started on his projects. And, I'm sure he'll be contributing tremendously over the coming months, and I'm very stoked to see it happen. Looking forward to working with you, Victor. All right, culture and kudos. So I want to first highlight How and Chris. Chris hit 1 year, and How is at 2 years now. So congratulations, team. Chris is celebrating in the background. Really awesome to see the tenure continuing to develop with so many great people. Charu and How met in Vancouver. So we had some cool meetups this week. Mercy and Jesse, they decided not to play pickleball because I wasn't there. So they grabbed lunch in Austin. I'm excited to get on the courts with them when I get back. And then some highlights of the week on the culture side. So first off, Cosima has jumped in feet first on the onboarding process and improvement. Had some really amazing feedback. Caught a couple bugs in the process that were quite deeply embedded, and generally just had some really nice recommendations for how to improve. So just want to highlight that. Definitely appreciate very early on making meaningful contributions and kind of always making sure that we challenge each other to improve process. It's huge. And then Tom. So Tom has been writing some great memos, and I think specifically this shout out just highlights the approach to making the case for and against. So not necessarily taking a dogmatic stand on a theme, but instead steel manning the opposite side of the argument to make sure that things are really fully fleshed out. And so that if someone is reading this memo, what are the questions that are going to surface in their mind that might take the opposite position, and just addressing those up front and being able to close the conversation. It's really helpful practice and really nicely demonstrated in a few memos that Tom's written recently. So we can all improve just by kind of reading and absorbing these sorts of themes. Thank you, team. All right, I think we've got Ms. with an async. Let me share my sound real quick.
Everyone, a few updates to share this morning. I'll start with two of the bigger ones. The first on the job titles at levels memo. This is a proposal that was sent out earlier in the week that explores how we want to use titles within the company, what role we want them to play, how we want the culture to feel and look as a result. And this should be somewhat freeing and liberating. It opens up the opportunity for people to take on more responsibility within their function, in other functions, and kind of grow organically, which is the goal here. But this affects everyone, and people have a lot of background and thoughts on this. And so looking to collect those thoughts, to have the conversation, to understand the feedback, and decide where we go from here. So if you haven't checked it out yet, please do. Please add your thoughts in the discussion section. And if appropriate, we'll schedule a fireside to go a little bit deeper. The second one to point out is this transition from beta that we've been in for 2.5, 3 years into this liftoff and growth mode. We've been saying for quite some time, we're not in growth mode, reminding everyone of that. And this is a reminder that that mode is changing. And so to push this analogy all the way on liftoff, the altitude in the cabin is going to be a little bit different, and that means that we have to focus and work a little bit differently. There's different rules up here. And so I'm going to leave the business side update specifically to JM and Ben. They've been doing a really good job on a weekly basis of focusing, of picking up our landing gear, of understanding what we need to do to get to the right altitude, to hit the goals, to hit our conversion rates, to have the orders tracking the way they need to, and generally increase visibility around this. So they've been working on that, and they're going to share more with the company more widely. But all their meetings are posted, so you can, if you're interested in going into those details and following along with them, you can do that in that thread. But what this means inside the cabin, inside the culture for us, is that we need to start focusing and prioritizing a little bit differently. The things that we were able to focus on in the past start to look different within the culture. And so the time that we had for projects and experimentation and exploration was wider. We still want to encourage the right pieces, but you'll see a lot of projects refocusing in on how they help us hit our goals and whether or not it's the most important thing that we can do for the company today. And so we're in a pretty critical period and want to make sure that we maintain that focus. This looks different for different people in different roles, but it is something that we should all start being mindful of and be aware that there might be more restrictions than we're used to from the past. And so it's not a brace for impact, but it's a prepare for change. The breathing room's a little bit different, and so I just want to bring that top of mind. Everyone has their own past company experiences through launches and liftoffs and failures, and this is one that we get to go through and experience together. And so looking forward to that ride. And here we go, I guess. Quick, smaller pointers and reminders. One that I've heard from a few different folks, reminder to take ownership for out-of-office calendar events. If you're going to be away for a week, for a day, if you're not going to make a calendar meeting, go ahead and cancel it proactively. Don't rely on the other person seeing your message and then showing up for the meeting. It ruins their whole day when you don't show up. It kind of throws a wrench in the whole schedule. People plan their lives and their days around this. And so take ownership there and just be mindful. On the thread side, a few updates. Reminder to turn notifications on for all new threads for general, for the people forum, and for your function and team. Those are the ones that important reminders and updates and memos go to. And so those are threads that you should be seeing. So notifications on there. And then reminder to use mentions and request response correctly. Those do different things, and we want to use the tool correctly so that it works for the whole ecosystem. So I'll send out some reminders of videos that we've recorded in the past on this. And final update, reminder to fill out the culture survey by Sunday night. This is useful. A lot of value comes from it, and we make a lot of change as a result. So appreciate the participation. That's it.
Awesome. Ton of great stuff there. Thank you, Ms., for comprehensively summarizing. Really appreciate the attention here. And jumping ahead. Okay. company objectives. So main thing, level shows you how food affects your health. No changes here. We're now able to move more quickly towards this goal now that we are in growth mode, as Ms. just stated. And the top objectives that correlate here are our priorities are member retention, member health improvement, new member acquisition. So this is, the acquisition part of that is the growth mechanism. The retention part of that is making sure that, we're providing value, and that if we are, people will want to stay, and it will be producing the ultimate value to them that is embedded in our mission statement, reversing the metabolic health crisis. So these are all interdependent. And I'm going to start with Braden.
Hey team, I wanted to share a recap on an experiment that I ran last month to address one of the most common support questions that we hear, which is how to sign up for a subscription and order more sensors after the first month. We typically receive around 200 questions on this each month, and normally coming from members around 10 to 15 days into using levels. One of the most common questions that we hear from these members is where in the app can I order more sensors and see my subscription status? So the experiment was to reach out to members who were 10 days into using levels and hadn't yet signed up for a subscription, instructions on how to sign up directly in the app. So over the course of the month, sent these instructions to 50% of members meeting this criteria, and measured the impact between the subscription sign-up rate and support contact rate between these two groups. So the results of the experiment were that the group that was sent the instructions actually had a lower subscription sign-up rate than the group that was not sent the instructions. And the support contact rate was level between the two groups, with around 5% of members in each group reaching out to support specifically on how to sign up for a subscription. So the main takeaway here was that this clearly wasn't effective. And I think one of the reasons for this was that this was a one-time notification and didn't persist in the app, and it persists in place in the app where members could go to sign up for a subscription and see their status would likely be more effective. This continues to be a topic that drives a lot of support questions, and I think there's still a lack of awareness that's probably cutting into the subscription sign-up rate. Also ran an experiment a couple months ago using email as the method to create awareness around the subscription sign-up options and how do you sign up. And this was much more effective and did have a positive effect on the subscription sign-up rate and the support contact rate. So for next steps, be to look into setting up a recurring email campaign to members who haven't signed up for a subscription with instructions on how to sign up, and also let them know about the new subscription option that we have, which is to order ad hoc CGM kits as opposed to committing to recurring shipments, which members in this group might not be interested in. So that's it. Thank you.
Really interesting results there, and counterintuitive. Thank you, Braden.
Happy Friday, everyone. This week, I'll be walking you through how we're progressing on laying the rails for our core metabolic health program that's going to be focused on behavior change. And we'll talk through the now V2 progress and what we're seeing in the data now that we've launched that piece of the puzzle, as well as the stability ring and scoring V2 effort, and then also how we progressed on the event-based insights and how they all play together. To start off, we're going to dive into now V2. As you know, last week we pushed out the changes that incorporated basically the main UI updates, which were the pinned insights and activities above the fold with the insights icon and the UI that gave a bit more agency and less confusion around how to navigate on the dashboard. And this week I'm going to dive into some of the data. And TLDR, there is some positive numbers in the quantitative side of things, and then there are also some opportunities that we're hearing in the qualitative feedback to have some fast follows. We've seen an increase in the percentage of members who open an insight story modal each day, which is pretty awesome. We wanted to preserve the comprehension that we had in the old Now screens, where you had to see the insight, it was on the screen. We knew that this was having high awareness versus the original home model, but we weren't sure if these sorts of insights in a list pinned above the fold would also land. And we're seeing that not only did we maintain that, but we're seeing a higher open rate for those insights. And we're seeing the average insights viewed per member per day is also going up. So we'll have to pay attention for the next few weeks to see if this was a one-time bump with the launch of the UI. But for the last 7 days, we have sustained a higher level than we were beforehand. And finally, just because we track food logs as a proxy for our general app engagement, food logs per user per day has stayed stable post-launch. So we haven't seen any dips in the main app engagement, which is great. On the qualitative side, I sent an email survey to about 500 of our active members who experienced the new app. And so far, we've received 30 responses. And one of the top here, I just wanted to highlight some of the top pieces of feedback that we're hearing. The numbers here represent the number of responses that contained this sort of feedback. And there were many other pieces of feedback that I didn't include here that were one-offs from one person only. But the top feedback we heard was now the manual scan button is too difficult to access. In the old world, we had at the top of the app, there was a quick way to access the sensor control module. And you could tap that and then click manual scan. And right now, in the new world, we moved that sensor module out and we put it buried inside of the profile page. So we're going to do a fast follow and work on a pull to refresh so that members have a very fast way to access this. Unfortunately, this piece of feedback was amplified by the first launch. We also had a UI bug that didn't display recently synced glucose. So it made people think that there was a greater difficulty with syncing that glucose. But that's since been resolved. And because it's not going to be throwaway work to have a pull to refresh, now that we're moving towards more real-time APIs, it's going to be something that will be value additive, especially now, and also maintained for the future. We had quite a few pieces of feedback that people prefer the simplified dashboard. They were thankful that they now had a way to choose which data they wanted to see without having to navigate down different paths and try to hunt for what they were looking for. We did also have a handful of people miss the Explore tab, and we took the Explore tab out of the bottom bar. We left the content in the app, but left it to be surfaced by event-based insights. A handful of people did reach out saying that they missed that, and they would prefer to view that content in the app as opposed to finding it on the blog. So we'll be continuing to think about this and how we might fit this into the app. Open question as to how we want to fit that back in a way that's very intelligent and useful for our members. We had a couple people that preferred the old dashboard. They thought the new dashboard is too plain, and frankly, they're not wrong. The new dashboard is partly an incomplete experience. It is internally consistent, but it's missing the hero up here. It's missing the stability score, the stability ring, which really pulls together and shows you the system in the game for what you're going for throughout that day. With the current UI, it's just the chart, just your activities. And while that's helpful to see the bird's eye view, we really want to wait and see once we launch the stability ring, how this is going to pull it all together. And then we also heard a few items around logging confusion. The good news is that we're currently working on a spec that improves this. Brett's been working hard on coming up with a simplified UI, one that makes a bunch more sense for the tagging suggestions. And I think we're going to have a better update on this next week, but it's looking very promising. And that is a good summary of what we heard on Navi 2. So positive trending, and we're going to do some fast follows to report on for next week on what we're iterating on with feedback. Next, talking about the scoring V2 part. So as you know, the scoring V2 effort is the stability ring here, the glucose state that helps you understand how your current glucose is trending, and then annotating spikes on the chart so you know which areas are informing your unstable portions of the day. And I wanted to share a screenshot from the live development version of the app, and this is looking really good. On the left, we have our Figma mock. On the right, we have what's actually in the app. And you can see how we're really working together across research, data analytics, back-end eng, front-end eng, and it's all coming together in the app. And you can see we're annotating detected spikes using the data team's algorithm here. Murillo is serving up the actual spike information. Justin's been painting it on the graph. There are some tweaks that we're working on. It's still in development, but it's starting to look really good, and it's coming together. At the same time, the data team, Jason, has been working really hard to iterate on the algorithms for spike detection. So Jason, Maz, and I have been trying one thing out, looking at the data, going back and seeing if we can dial in on a better way to capture these spikes. We're converging on something that we feel is good enough for internal testing. So Murillo is going to start incorporating that into the app. It'll be ready for testing next week when we'll do our official internal beta testing. So the plan for this is right now we're ready for development testing. That screenshot that I showed you is about what we have. Next week, we'll be expanding out our testing to the rest of you here internally at Levels with an internal dog food of an experience that we hope is good enough to ship to our members. During that phase, we really ask you to try out the product and submit any bugs that you find. The following week, assuming everything goes well there, we'll be rolling this out to our members in a phased approach, assuming that everything went well in the week before. If things go really well next week, we can make a call at the time, whether we think it's okay to roll out to a few of our trusted testers, like that list of 30 to 50 people that have opted into early testing, but we'll make that call next week. And finally, I wanted to welcome Mike DiDonato as the DRI for event-based insights. Mike, as you know, has been one of our closest points of contact to customers from the very first days, and he has a wealth of information about how to pair metabolic insights in a relevant way based on members' goals and where they're at, and do so in a really simple and winsome way. And as our DRI for event-based insights, Mike is going to be in charge of thinking through what are the insights that we want to be delivering to our members, and how do we get them set up in such a way that it really hooks into their motivation, helps them understand why what we're suggesting is important for them, and then tees up something that they're able to do that's within the reach to change. So for example, the first focus is going to be on food swaps in the mornings for breakfast as part of our food swaps effort. And Mike will be working to come up with the best set of swaps for this. For example, if you eat oatmeal, we'll suggest a chia pudding. meal, things like that. Now, at the same time, Galit has been working on the implementation for the first set of 10 event-based insights, and those are just about ready to start testing as well. So more on that next week, and very excited to start this with you all. That's it for me.
Awesome update. Thank you again, David. Tons of work going on in the background there, obviously. And let's see, why can I
Happy
not
Friday, everyone.
exit this? There we go. Okay. Yeah. Tons of stuff to be excited about. Lots of experimentation and learning happening on the scoring, spike detection, and event-based insights. And thanks, Mike, for taking DRI there. All right, hiring update. So new team members joining. So we've got Rebecca and Lynette joining the support team this upcoming Monday, which is, wow, that got here quickly. And then we've got Taylor joining in October. And then on the hiring front, on the careers page, we've recently added, we've still got the software engineer up there. We've recently added an R&D engineer position, which is essentially helping us to better understand the future of biosensor technology as it's developing and figure out how we can provide the best options to our members as we grow. So if you or someone you know is interested in this or general careers opportunities at Levels, please check out our link, levels.link/careers. Okay, we got here to the end. I'm going to stop the share, switch over to my participants list, and we'll do our individual contribution section. This week, we're moving from the bottom up just to make sure we have enough time for everyone, and we switch these off. So Zach, putting you on the spot.
Yeah, hey y'all. Let's see, professionally, just continue to be just excited about, I mean, there's a lot, just sort of being truly in the middle of liftoff, seeing lots of our different agreements come in, the new people joining. It's been wonderful. On the personal front, excited to get through a record week of super hot heat in Austin. Nate's still doing good. He now crawls, so that's been pretty cool. That's it.
Nice work, Nate. It's awesome. Victor.
I'm excited for tonight. We're going out to Korean barbecue in LA. Only been once before, so that's going to be pretty amazing. The question is what I'm excited about.
Yeah, just personal, professional. That's a good one.
Yeah, professional. I had a great call with Moss yesterday. We were going to talk for 30 minutes. We ended up talking for 70 minutes, all about products, all about users, what to do here. So that was actually super inspiring. Trying to figure out whether it actually makes sense for me to hit a late plane to New York next week to hit up the team. So I'm trying to figure out whether that makes sense, but that could be very inspiring and fun to do as well.
Well, if you make it out there, I will see you there.
Oh, cool.
And once again, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Let's see, Stadi.
Professionally, really excited to start the Voice of Research and give everyone a little bit more insight to what's going on the research front and what we're seeing in support related to research. And then personally, I'm currently here on Mount Desert Island in Maine, visiting my grandparents. So excited to get out into the park this weekend and put some miles on my legs.
Very cool. Enjoy. Riley.
I just want to shout out to Karen for just an awesome week. So I really enjoyed working with her on the UK incorporation and getting that ready. And I know it's still early days, but it's exciting to see liftoff happening in the US and seeing something come right in the pipeline behind it internationally. So really pumped for that.
Haney.
Professionally, I'm going to call out, I guess, Ben and Tony for the Whole New Level podcast. I listened to Dave's episode with Casey this week. I know it was a while back on unschooling, and the episode that Tom and I did with Riley just came out. And it just struck me how really unique it is that a company this size has a podcast dedicated to itself and like highlighting the interesting people and airing these kind of often maybe uncomfortable questions that we might have internally. And instead of sort of dealing with them in maybe a typical HR way, we're like, hey, let's record a podcast about it. And it's just such a unique benefit of this place. And I think we should, step back and appreciate how odd it is. So I guess I'll make that my personal as well, because that's what I've been listening to as I've been doing personal things.
Love it. Mike D.
Damn. Because the participant list shows me at the top. I guess, I there's a lot of things. One thing, that Haney just said about the podcast, there's the audience is so vast, and it's just really interesting to see the different topics come together and hear different people's perspectives. Like, I think I was listening to the bike shedding podcast with Sam and Ben, and just like hearing them talk about what that is. And in my mind, I was thinking like of the times that maybe I was guilty of it. Just really helpful to have that perspective. And then personally, I am home for a few days, so it's kind of nice.
Nice. Yeah. Hopefully everyone's participants list reflects what I see, but if not, sorry about that. Karen.
I can confirm it doesn't. So professionally, I'm super excited that we have our UK entity now. That unlocks so many other things that we've kind of been queuing behind this initiative. And shout out to Riley and Zach and Miz and everyone who's been working to make this happen. And I also met Dana this week. Haney introduced us over email because she's in London right now. So we met up, which was awesome. We talked about content and a bunch of other things for the UK. And personally, it's obviously very hot here, like everywhere in Europe right now, and we have date night tonight. So I think we're going to head to a rooftop cocktail bar to drink margaritas.
Very nice. Enjoy. Jen.
Levels wise, so many things going on. Wow, it's like mind blowing, all the stuff that's happening. Personally, like for levels, I'm so excited about Huberman. I'm so excited. And also New York next week, very excited about that. And then this weekend, we have a couple of really fun activities for the boys lined up. So pumped about that.
Yeah, ditto on Huberman as well. Quay.
Yeah, same. I feel work-wise, there's so many things happening. Went to Welcome Coffee this week. Yeah, really excited Vic joined. Even though I'm new here, I kind of already feel how the kind of staffing bottleneck is with design. So really excited for that. Yeah, and really insightful, to see David's report on members' feedback on now V2, and really looking forward to launch scoring V2 to complement the whole holistic experience. Yeah, personalized. I'm starting to plan for the summer vacation we're going to have for the last week of August. Yeah, so if you have any good ideas, let me know. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we should have vacation ideas thread. Let's see, it's Dom.
Hey, Josh. Yeah, I'm driving, so I'll keep it short. But personally, we are planning also some summer vacation and look to go to some interesting spots we haven't been before. My wife has been to many places, so it's hard to find a place she hasn't been to. And we got a lot of blood data back, the final batch from the Allison Hall level study, and I'm looking forward to going over that data with our statistician, and pretty excited about that, and finally putting that manuscript together.
That's great stuff. Love it. Thanks, Tom. Dan.
Yeah, professionally, exciting to see the output and shipments increase and the continued experimentation with the checkout flow. I think all that is just awesome to see. And then personally, I'm going golfing tomorrow, so that'll be fun. Looking forward to that.
Nice. Fun. Cyrus.
I did not expect to be called on again. Personally, I would say we just had a great family vacation to San Diego, visiting family. My wife and I both have family out in San Diego. Beautiful place, great weather. They're totally spoiled out there. Professionally, back in the office on Monday. In addition to all my regular duties, looking forward to joining our organization's coaching cadre and to start imparting that mindset we talked about earlier throughout the organization. Thank you.
Amazing. Best of luck with the new mindset and professional pursuits. Brittany.
Sorry, it took me a minute to find the mute button there. On the professional side, I mean, lots of things, but definitely this week, more than ever, just super inspired by how quickly the Levels team is able to iterate and make improvements, like quick improvements based on whether it's member feedback, team feedback. It's just inspiring to watch that, and is motivating, like, if we do provide feedback, that people are open to the discussion and new ideas. And like, again, for like the sync button or our subscription options, or, that is like multiple things. So anyway, super inspired by that. And also just adding on, really excited about the Huberman Lab, because I'm such a big fan of him. And on the personal side, spending this weekend preparing for the backpacking trip with Sissy and Steph, because it's my last free weekend and I need to get my stuff together and figure out what the heck I'm missing, and how to be prepared for that. We got some professional backpackers on that group, so excited. Thanks.
That's awesome. Chris.
Well, first off, I'm very excited to hit my 1-year mark. It's been an incredible journey and ride, and I've loved every day of it and can't wait for year 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I just want to thank all of you for a great first year, for everything you do every day. Related to that, more specifically, I'm super excited about just watching the support team react to liftoff. Even though our overall volume isn't up a ton, the types of questions that we handle are things that we've usually never seen before or don't have the reps in to do it very quickly. So the level of hours put in by the queue is up like 50%. So just watching the team rally, shift work, shift projects, setting expectations, and just their desire to want to get to inbox 0, which we haven't hit for 2 weeks. Watching them just kind of rally the troops and support each other, as opposed to like, oh my God, I can't get in front of this thing. So it's a tough time for support right now, but I'm super proud of what the team does every day to show up. And then personally, it is music festival time in Whitefish. My favorite music festival, Under the Big Sky, starts today. It's a couple miles from my house, 20,000 of my closest friends. So I'm going to be getting out my cowboy boots, my cowboy hat, my belt, my wife's belt buckle, because I actually don't have one myself that's going to say, Rodeo Princess on it, and get my shindig on. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Fantastic. Honestly, the part of that I believe the most is only 20,000 of your closest friends. I'm sure you've got many more than that. Congrats again on 1 year. Azure.
Congrats, Chris. You should get a belt buckle. I'm really into the stability ring. I've just got on the alpha and I think it looks really good. I really like the way that spikes are faded out. I think this design is super cool and encouraging people to pay attention to something really important. I'm also really excited about the text messages I'm getting of people doing the vinegar experiment and then just getting to talk back and forth on the phone about what everybody is seeing. It's variable in a very cool way that goes beyond the published papers on the topic. And I think that's exactly what these experiments are for. And personally, one of my closest friends since age 11 is coming to visit all this weekend. So I'm super excited to see her.
Love it. Have fun. That brings it to me, I guess. So yeah, I want to echo some of the things people have said here. First of all, it's pretty surreal to see Levels with an international entity as quickly as that happened. So big shout out to Karen and JM and others who have worked on that. And then I think the way the team has sort of rallied around the inflection point of liftoff, just recognizing that things are going to be uncomfortable and they're going to change, and particularly support just stepping up and doing an amazing job. Not necessarily, I think, being expected to even be able to keep up with the unknown and unknowable volumes and changes in support topics. So it's just huge and awesome to see the professionalism and continue to see great happiness scores from people despite that SLA slipping sometimes. And just want to shout out again, keep the morale high. It's a tough job, but everyone's learning at a high rate. And the fact that nobody's pointing fingers or getting I think to a breaking point is a real testament to the team and culture. And I love it. So yeah, thanks to all of you. And then also just being in this mode and being able to recognize that for the first time, we're able to learn lessons about our conversion rates and do optimizations on the funnel and really trust the numbers we're getting. This is like such a valuable moment in our company history. And I think we're capitalizing on it. So it's awesome to see. It's felt like we've had a boat anchor around our necks for 2 years, as we haven't really been able to open the gate and see what happens and see what we can do when we flex our muscles. So I'm excited for it. And that's all I got. Personally, still on the East Coast. I've been out here for much longer than expected. Gonna head up and see some Levels peeps on next week in New York. And I'm gonna go to my niece's first birthday on Saturday. So I'm excited for that. All right, with that, thanks everyone for an incredible week and continuing to crush it. Welcome, Victor. Thank you, Cyrus, for joining us. Have a good one.